No, not we, you, buddy, you.
You also want to hear about how WWE tries to crush its competition?
Yes, I do.
All right. But before we go on to that, what was your final thoughts on pretty much the whole independent corp? Because especially
I mean,
you're the expert, but
I'm the expert. I think we separate. I think we separate our leisure from the stuff that makes us very sad and very annoyed and very angry. We don't do a whole lot of thinking of those who are responsible for our leisure. That's their job. And it's what we consider our leisure that makes them tired and angry and irritated. Things like, employment issues, insurance, injuries, having the authority to say what you want to do, what you don't want to do, i.e. unionization. That's their job.
Mhm.
So I think sometimes, and you've seen it, you've seen people at these wrestling matches acting insane to people
Mhm.
doing their jobs. I think the NBA has the players of the NBA have done the most, especially I guess LeBron James, because that's who we see. He isn't the only one doing it, but that's who we see. If you are at a game where he is and
Mhm.
you do something crazy, he is bringing the ref over to you. He's
Right.
calling security during the game because you will not.
Mhm.
And it's just really hard to accept that, especially, wrestling or superstar wrestling stuff, right?
Right.
It's they don't have that protection, is what it is, honestly.
Right. I mean,
That's
yeah, and even like with professional wrestlers, they try to get a rise out of you. I mean, that's
mhm.
their purpose, whether they're face good guy or heel bad guy. They try to get a rise out of you, and
If they're not
plus,
doing it in the moment that you respond, though.
yeah,
If they're if they're
it's
if they're playing to the script, the moment you decide, you will be risen.
right,
And
right.
so it's annoying. It's understandably annoying. That's all.
Hmm.
But you're also a professional. You can't you can't throw a punch at somebody not trained to take it.
Yeah, yeah. And they teach you how to throw a punch. Yeah. So yeah, another thing the WWE does, they hate competition.
I'm
They
sure.
they they hate competition. Um, like they want to be number one. Like even like we talked about the Monday Night Wars. Monday Night Wars last episode between them and WCW. Like the shots they would take at each other. I mean, it's supposed to because you try to gain the best audience as you can, but like even
Right.
now, like how WWE who won the war. Yeah, they did win the war. Um, tells a story. It was like this WCW big corporate mega monopoly. WCW tried to destroy us. They tried to put us out of business and lose all the webs. Like, no,
Good
that
job.
wasn't like no. They tried to be the number one WCW. Excuse me, like WWE tried to be the number one professional wrestling program and company, professional wrestling company in the United States. They were trying to have the number one wrestling program on television. They were trying to put you out of business. They try
Mhm.
to. It's like Coke trying to put Pepsi out of business, or Pepsi trying to put Coke out of business. No,
Right.
it's just they just want to be number one. And some of the silly things that the WWE tried to do to WCW, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Like in 1996, Titan Sports, the parent company of the World Wrestling Federation, before they came WWE, had sued World Championship Wrestling over WCW, implying that two of their wrestlers, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, like we mentioned in the last episode, who
Mhm.
worked for the WWF as Razor Ramon and Diesel, were invading WCW on WWF's behalf. This led to a series of lawsuits filed by both companies, and the Monday Night War was eaten up. the lawsuit went on for years and years, ending with a settlement in 2000. It is an important settlement because one of the terms they came with the settlement was that it gave the WWF the right to bid on WCW's assets if the company was ever liquidated.
Huh.
So we talked a little bit about the Monday Night Wars in the beginning and the Montreal Screwjob and how the Attitude Era started and stuff like that. So as the years came on, after 1997, the WWE started to hit their stride with Stone Cold Steve Austin and his evil Mr. McMahon character, and McMahon throwing everything at Steve Austin. And then you had the emergence of Degeneration X, their group in WWE. Like one of the funny things DX did, they were doing a show. WWF was doing a show in I think Richmond, Virginia, and WCW Nitro was doing a live show in Norfolk, Virginia. So DX rented a Jeep, put on camouflage, and went on over to the Norfolk, Virginia Coliseum because they heard that WCW were handing out free tickets, and they tried to get free tickets to go in the show. And the WCW security was like, "Oh shit, that's them," and closed their doors. So they're sitting over there like DX is like, "We're going to war against WCW" and stuff like that. And it was funny. They were like, the fans were going crazy because wrestling fans watch both shows. So like me, I watch both shows. I would flip back and forth. It was annoying at the time. It was like, okay, they're on commercial. Raw's on commercial. Okay, WCW. Okay, they're on commercial. Let's go back and stuff like that. And they were having fun with the fans, and they were being locked out of the arena. So you had DX and The Rock was coming up in the Nation of Domination and Mankind. So, and at that same time, WCW, the NWO started to get a little stale because they were winning all the time. Like the big match at Starrcade with Hogan and Sting kind of ended in a dud because the referee screwed up. They tried to imitate the Montreal Screwjob, and Brett was supposed to stop the fast count and make it fair for Sting to beat Hogan, and screwed that up. It was a couple of things, and the only thing they really had, and the NWO split up. They came the NWO Hollywood and NWO Wolfpack, and the Wolfpack was supposed to be these good guys and stuff fighting against the NWO Black and White. It was kind of coming a little bit stale, but the only thing they really had was this guy that just came out of their training facility, WCW's wrestling training academy, which they called the Power Plant, that was really kind of catching on. A guy named Goldberg.
And
he was an ex-football player with the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
He decided to pick. He got cut, couldn't play football no more. Decided to take this wrestling thing and try, and like they kind of dressed
the movies afterwards.
Yeah, a little bit. So Carson,
pretty popular.
Yeah. They kind of like dressed him like Steve Austin. Steve Austin wore the black trunks and stuff, but he was different than Steve Austin. He just come in, kick your ass, and leave. But he didn't talk because he wasn't that good on the mic.
Very respected.
But he was really respected. He was really starting to rack up this streak. And he was just going through guys over and over. It was like, this is kind of exciting. How long this could go on? And it went all the way up to him winning the WCW championship and beating Hollywood Hulk Hogan on an episode of Monday Nitro in 1998 in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Georgia Dome. And how WWE tells it, and the retrospective is like, how can you give away that big a match give away that bigger match on free TV instead of that should have been a pay-per-view match. Like they were really stupid. Ha ha ha. It was like, no, they weren't really stupid. For before during the Monday Night Wars for 83 weeks, WCW were beating Monday Night Raw consistently. And then the tide had turned and they've gone back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But WWE started to really get the upper hand and started winning for a few weeks. So WCW needed a win. Nitro needed a win, so they were like, okay, we got this Goldberg guy. He's going through, everybody's talking about Goldberg. Let's put him up against Hollywood Hulk Hogan for the world title. And that got like 12 million viewers, solidly beating Monday Night Raw because everyone wanted to see him. And that's what it counted because they got more money on the advertisers, the television shows. Nitro and Raw got more money for advertisers than they did for pay-per-view buys.
Oh, wow.
So you're winning in the ratings, especially not only can you beat Raw, but you're also the number one show on cable for Monday night that night at the Goldberg beating Hulk Hogan.
Right.
That's a lot of money to advertisers because everyone was like, because you advertise this 2 weeks in advance, everybody, all the advertisers want to get in. It was like, oh, hey, 12 million views, come on. So, and then it kind of went downhill and it went even worse. Eric Bischoff, the company's vice president who was in charge of WCW, had gotten fired. WCW had brought in Vince Russo, WWE's I remember I talked about Vince Russo.
Yes.
The preview. He was WWF's head writer, then he jumped ship, and it got really bad. And it was Raw was constantly beating Nitro, and it was just WCW wasn't the same. It just really wasn't. And at that time, also you have the merger. You have Time Warner, AOL's merger. Time Warner, AOL at the time, and Turner Broadcasting's merger. So Ted Turner really has no more power. He sits on the board. He's a vice chairman, infamous, but he has really no more power. And also he can't protect the wrestling that he has loved and has brought him his ratings that really made TBS a superstation at that time. A superstation. It really built TBS is the reason why TBS is on everyone's television and has some sort of pay TV package is really off the backs of wrestling, professional wrestling, and Atlanta Braves baseball.
I believe it.
So you have these new executives that really don't like professional wrestling. They don't get it. They don't like it. Even though it's put in,
they don't get it. They had to in their youth. They had to have been fans of professional wrestling.
No, they weren't. The executives they brought in, they weren't fans of professional wrestling. Not even in their youth. These are corporate guys that are.
Buddy, I don't know about that. Everybody loves wrestling now.
Yeah, but what I've heard about these executives they brought in at the time that WCW had went under is that these guys didn't like professional wrestling and they were trying to get
and I'm sure they may not have liked it, but that dislike
it's that, and they wanted to get the NBA on TNT television. They want to get the NBA. They want to get more baseball games. They want to get baseball and potentially make a run for the NFL. And how they view it is, how can we have silly professional wrestling on our sports side, or TNT Sports, TBS Sports? How can people take us seriously when we have this silly ass professional wrestling? So you have these low ratings that started to come in, especially during 2000. So in the 2000, they're like, hey, we're pulling the plug. TNT executives we're pulling the plug on WCW Monday Nitro and their other show, their secondary show, WCW Thunder or TBS. We're pulling the plug. So, and we don't want this WCW, and since we're pulling plug on those two shows, there's no point of having WCW anymore, so we get rid of it. So Eric Bischoff is trying to get a bunch of buyers together to be able to purchase WCW himself. And he does. He does get the buyers, and he has the money able to purchase it.